Hi and welcome to day 2 of the 25 days leading all the way to Christmas. Today we have a very exciting story out of the book 25 Stories I Tell My Younger Self. Today it is about the tree story, which was story number 2, and as you can see, beautiful background. We are recording this a bit earlier than usual. You know, these episodes come out 9 p.m. local Hong Kong time every day. And so since today we have a really busy afternoon, we're gonna record this quite early in the morning. If you have read story number 2 already, then you know that story number 2 is about me having to grow a tree when I went to elementary school. And it was a very frustrating task. During this year when I had to grow this tree, we did other projects. For example, I had to build a birdhouse, which was really great because I don't know if you have ever grown a tree, but growing a tree is one of the most frustrating things you can do, simply because you have to work that tree for months, literally months. And I took almost a year until there was a little seedling coming out of the ground. When you build a birdhouse, well, you get together with your friends, and it takes you a little bit, and then afterwards the birdhouse is done and you can hang it outside and the birds have a great time and you enjoy it. So I learned a lot from that story. I think I was 7, 8 years old, and it was one of the most memorable stories. And through all my keynotes and talks that I have been giving over the last years, this was one of the stories that always stuck out and that I talked about a lot. And the reason is that one of the key reasons I learned from that, from an entrepreneurial perspective, is that so many people are attached to immediate results. What they want is, they want immediate results. They cannot wait and cannot what we call delay gratification. And it has sadly to do with our internal hormones, and especially in our society today, where you get up in the morning, the first thing you do is you reach for your phone. You get immediate satisfaction by having WhatsApp messages, by having text messages, Facebook messages, little pop-ups. The first thing you do when you come out of a break or out of your job, what is the first thing you do? You check your phone. You get this instant gratification on a constant basis. Today with our environment, and I'm not criticizing that. I mean, I'm part of it and I use it as it is, right? I'm just stating the facts here. Today in our environment, we're so used to having everything instant. You send a WhatsApp message out. If a friend doesn't reply within 5 minutes, you're like, hey, what's wrong, right? So you want this feedback straight away. And so we are a generation, the millennials, we are a generation that have been growing up, being used to having this instant feedback. And when you start your own business, whether you become a solopreneur, which means you really start your own business where you run this thing yourself, or you become more of a sidepreneur where you want to do this more part-time, or you really want to scale a business, become a true entrepreneur and build a large business. No matter which of these things you do, it is so different to having these daily gratifications, because when you build a business, it's very similar like growing a tree. That means you have to water that tree, you have to plant the seedling, you have to have faith that everything works out. You need to have faith that the business that you're building is on the right direction. And for many people, including myself, this was so hard when I started out as my own business. And if you read the book, you will see in the later stories that I started my own business and I was 10 times that close and giving up because I couldn't see instant results. And I was used to getting quick results. When I was a professional kite surfer, I trained, I landed a trick, I sent it to a magazine, they printed it. I had immediate benefits. When I was working as a medical doctor, it was immediate paycheck, right? I worked for months, end of the month, I got my paycheck. And then I started my first business and I was working for months and months and months, and there was almost no payback, very, very little, if at all. And there's some entrepreneurs, and you can read about that they take 5 years until they have any significant breakthrough. Now you hear this a lot, right? And I'm pretty sure you know about these stories from people that you're an overnight success after 9 years of really hard work. Well, the thing is, you hear all those things on a daily basis, but are you really aware of it when you are in it yourself? While you're watching this video, maybe you take a second and you ask yourself, have you ever tried to get something off the ground that had this delayed gratification factor in it? Because if it does, then be honest to yourself and ask yourself, why have you been slowing down sometimes, or why haven't you? Do you understand this concept of delaying gratification? If you have been struggling, then I tell you why you have been struggling. And it was the same reason why I was struggling growing my tree. It was not because of me. It was because of the people around me who got me insecure, who told me, Julian, you planted that seedling wrong. Julian, the soil, the spot where you put the seedling, that is a bad spot. And you know what? That got me insecure. That got me thinking. And there's this really, really famous quote. It's a powerful quote. You can put a vessel into an entire ocean, and the ocean doesn't manage to press that vessel down unless there's a small little crack so that the water seeps through, and over time, doesn't take long, that ship is gone. And that is one of the key messages I want to leave you today with in this second story, in this second lesson. And you know, these stories and lessons are always around because I'm not talking about this in the book. It is about, ask yourself on your venture that you are doing, no matter whether it's starting a business or whether it's a relationship or anything that pays off over time, not instantly. Ask yourself, which crack have you had in your mind? Which crack in your boat lets water seep through so that you forget about the long-term benefits that you are actually going for, and that when you started you were aware because you heard all these stories from other people. But suddenly you hit that first roadblock and you start thinking, you start doubting, you start asking yourself, and then you run into the people that make you a little cracky, and then the water starts seeping through and it pulls you down and you lose the motivation to keep going until the very end. So I hope this little story, this picture is inspiring you, that the next time you run into a roadblock, you look for the fixers of a boat. And what I mean with this is you look for people that know what you're going through. You see, when I was growing my tree, I had two people around me who knew exactly what it took to grow that tree. The first person was my mom, who had been working on a farm her entire childhood. And she knew exactly that if she planted crop in spring, they were able to reap the rewards in fall. They knew that, and my mom knew if she would start digging the crop out in the summer, she would destroy everything. So she understood the concept. And the second person was my teacher, who had done this project with dozens of other kids and knew exactly what all these kids were going through. So what I did unintentionally as a kid was I relied a lot on my mother to tell me that I was on the right track, and I relied a lot on my teacher telling me the same thing. If I would have listened to my class friends, I would have done the same thing, namely dug out the seedling to check if everything was still there. Well, guess what? I would have killed the tree. And by following the right people, I'm not saying that your mother or your teacher are the right people for future ventures. I'm saying you need to find the right people to listen to, that you can follow, so that your vessel stays strong, and your vessel being your mind, having the right mindset, so that you can achieve what you want to achieve while hitting certain roadblocks. I hope with this, I get to inspire you to keep going, to plant your tree, to grow your tree, until that tree, just like my tree, grows peaches that you cannot stop anymore. And if you like those episodes, please subscribe for our newsletter. So we're going to send you out once a day, send you a quick email about the next episode tomorrow, day 3, third story. So it would be great to connect with you, maybe also on Facebook. That would be very nice. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And other than that, drop me a quick message. Would love to hear your input on this. And have a wonderful day, wonderful 2nd of December. Have a great one, and talk to you tomorrow. Cheers, Julian.